Hi, my name is Julie Reinhart, and I'm here with my acceptable use policy at Massillon City Schools. This is the student copy, and I've added several things to it. It was funny because I knew we had an adult one or a teacher one because I've always had to sign it, and I always, signed it, never really read it, just said, yep, all right, thanks. And I'm sure there's a lot of other people that do the same thing. But as I started looking and researching stuff, I see that it's a big deal and that you should take this seriously. Some things that I saw when I was doing research was that you should include a philosophy of your acceptable use policy. You should define clearly what is acceptable and what is unacceptable. You should have a safety and privacy on there. You should have some consequences. You should have maybe a legal disclaimer. And you should have a stakeholder piece where they're actually signing the paper and making sure that they understand what they're signing. So when I went through the student portion of the Massillon City Schools, there was some missing pieces. So I wanted to make sure that I included those. Now, one thing I want to make sure that everybody understands that if I were truly doing this for a school system, I would not ever do it by myself. I would have a team of people. I would make sure I get some teachers, some administrators, maybe some parents, some board members, and we would sit down and we would discuss it, and we would look at the important things that we need and the things that we should take out. So with that being said, the very first thing I added on here was my philosophy of education, or my philosophy of the student acceptable use policy. So I have written, the Massillon City School District provides technology resources to its students solely for educational purposes. Through technology, the district provides access for student and staff resource from around the world. Expanding technologies take students and staff beyond the confines of the classroom and provide tremendous opportunities for enhancing, extending, and rethinking the learning process. The goal in providing this resource is to promote educational excellence. So I wanted to make sure that I put that in there. I think that's an excellent thing. It talks about how being able to have the internet access, you are being able to go around the world. You are able to maybe join somebody else's classroom, and it's just making your learning experience so much better having this access. Next, Massillon actually had this. Anything that's in black, Massillon had already had. And in this paragraph and in this, it talks about it's a privilege, not a right, to have this internet connection. And they talk about how you can be able to communicate and different things that you can do with these computers. And then it talks about if you do anything wrong, it is a criminal action could happen. So further down, I thought it was important because part of the research I found is that the staff members should, really make sure that they teach safety. So I included on my AUP, I included staff members shall provide instruction for their students regarding the appropriate use of technology and online safety and security for each student. Furthermore, staff members will monitor the online activities of students while they're at school. So in other words, teachers they need to teach about safety on the internet. They need to talk about how there's predators and what you need to do, that you need to talk about the policies of good passwords and never giving that information to anybody. At my school, I actually do that for every class. I go around the whole first and second week of school, and I do several lessons where they get to experience what good and bad internet access and internet safety is. From there, there was no technology policies on here, so I just included that anything that Maslin owns, whether it's a Chromebook, computers, handhelds, MP3 players, iPads, iPods, calculators, cell phones, digital cameras, if Maslin owns it, you can get in trouble if you do not follow the rules. So if it's owned by them and they lease it to you, it's still owned by them. So you got to make sure that you're following the rules of Maslin City Schools. And that's basically what this is. These two sentences are. Now, there's an expectation of privacy. At any time, Maslin City School District reserves the right to monitor, inspect, copy, and all usage of the network and internet. And that's important to put in there because a lot of times kids think, oh, I can look up, an inappropriate video and they'll never find it. Well, that's not true. And students don't understand. Once you search it, it's in your search engine and somebody can find it. And if they're doing something wrong, somebody will know that they're doing wrong. So it's important that we put that in there because kids are kids and they're always going to try to get away with a little something. Another thing that wasn't on my AUP policy at Maslin City Schools were consequences. So I wanted to make sure I included some consequences. So I put students who use the internet or computer network inappropriately may lose their access privileges and may face additional disciplinary or legal action. So depending, do we need to call the police? Do we need to get other people involved? Next, being the technology person at Franklin Elementary, I need kids to know how to use the computers appropriately and how to handle them and what is acceptable on the computer and what isn't acceptable. So I put 5 things down. And the reason being, these are the things that I wanted to put on here because even though they're 3rd, 2nd, and 1st graders, they are getting themselves into trouble. I had a 3rd grader this year look at inappropriate pictures of a female. And we had to get people involved, and it was not fun. And he did not realize that he did anything wrong. He thought it was okay. So I wanted to make sure that I included that because I had that happen in my building. And I think it's so important that the kids know, oh, if you do this, yes, you're in trouble. So viewing, transmitting, or downloading pornographic, obscene, or vulgar or indecent materials, sending or publishing offensive or harassing messages and content, violating copyright and or district policy of plagiarism, using the network internet to buy or sell products, and accessing dangerous information that could cause damage and dangers to others. One thing, number 3, this plagiarism. One thing students do not understand, there are some pictures that you are not able to copy and put on your papers because they didn't give you that permission. But there are several sites that you can get onto that you're able to copy and paste pictures. But a lot of times people don't know that. They just copy and paste and put it on there and make it on their own. And that is, plagiarism. Next. Like I said, working with kindergarten, 1st, 2nd, 3rd grade, they get a little bit crazy when handling the devices. So I wanted to make sure there's a technology equipment and what they should and should not do on these computers. So do not place the device on the floor or sitting area. Do not leave the device near the edge of the table or desk. Do not leave device outside. Devices should not be left unattended. Do not use the device near water. Do not write or put stickers on your device. Do not eat or drink while you're using the device. And do not carry the device while they are open. Carry them while they are closed with 2 hands. My kindergartners think it's okay to have it open and running around the room to say, hey, Mrs. Reinhardt, how do I do this? No, I need you to raise your hand and sit there, and I'll be over to help you as soon as I'm done helping others. I do teach the kids that they should hold it to their chest and cross their arms like an X so that it will not fall out of their hands. So those are just some things that the students need to know about the technology and equipment. Most importantly, if they break a computer or if something would happen, we need to make sure that there is a policy written saying this is what's going to happen if you destroy or damage a Chromebook computer and or anything Massillon City Schools own that is technology based. So right here, damage, loss, or theft, which occurs to the device as a result of a student failing to use the due care, will result in the parent guardian being responsible to reimburse the district up to $200 to repair. So that's very important because we have kids this year that's picking off all the letters, the keyboard letters, and they think it's funny. Well, next year, somebody else is going to get that, and what is that fair to them? So I wanted to make sure that I put that on there. Lastly, Massillon already had it on here, is our stakeholders assign paper so that they understand that they have to sign the paper. So first we'd put our student's name, the school, and parents' guardian's name. Parents would read this. And then down here, they would sign it, date it. Students would read, sign, and date. Bottom line is teachers and principals are responsible for determining whether things are appropriate or inappropriate. So that is very, very important. And this is Massillon City Schools, a revised internet acceptable use policy and safety plans or safety policy. But one last reminder, there are several things I added to this. I added a philosophy. I added acceptable use and what is unacceptable. I added privacy and safety. I added violating the rules and expectations. I added legal disclaimer to it. So there were several things I had to add. And if you have any questions, feel free to ask me at